The morning sun cast long shadows across New Geneva as people went about their daily routines. Coffee shops opened their doors, children walked to school, and office workers hurried along the sidewalks with their tablets and briefcases. It was just another Tuesday on Earth. Until the sky suddenly turned blue, a massive hologram appeared above the city center, stretching nearly a mile across and visible from every district. The three-dimensional image showed a creature that looked like a giant insect walking upright. It had 4 arms, compound eyes that sparkled like jewels, and a mouth filled with clicking mandibles. Most people stopped walking and stared up at the strange sight. Ambassador Lisa Carter was having her morning coffee on the observation deck of the United Earth Government building when the hologram activated. She had been reading reports about crop yields from the Mars colonies when the alien appeared in the sky. Lisa set down her cup and watched with the same calm expression she used during budget meetings. "Primitive species of Sol 3, the creature's voice boomed across the city through invisible speakers. You have been found guilty of serious crimes against galactic law. Dr. Jake Morrison was in his lab studying samples from Europa when his assistant ran in to tell him about the alien broadcast. Jake followed her outside and looked up at the towering figure in the sky. He pulled out his phone and started taking pictures like a tourist. Your species has established colonies on 17 worlds without proper permits from the Galactic Council, the alien continued. This is a violation of Galactic Statute 4847, which clearly states that all species must receive authorization before expanding beyond their homeworlds. President Helen Brooks was in her office reviewing trade agreements when her secretary knocked on the door. The secretary looked worried and told her about the alien in the sky. President Brooks walked to her window and looked up at the hologram with mild interest, the same way she might look at an unexpected weather report. Agent Carl Davis, head of the president's security team, immediately moved to high alert status. He spoke into his radio and coordinated with his team to secure all government buildings. But when he looked at President Brooks, she seemed completely relaxed. She was actually smiling a little as she watched the alien speech. Furthermore, the creature said, its voice echoing off buildings, your species has developed technology at an alarming rate without proper oversight from the Council. You have built faster-than-light ships, established mining operations, and begun terraforming projects without following established protocols. People in the streets began taking photos and videos with their phones. Some pointed and talked excitedly to their friends. Others just shrugged and continued walking to work. A hot dog vendor kept selling food to customers who ordered while looking up at the giant alien. Life in New Geneva continued almost normally. The hologram flickered and another alien appeared next to the first one. This one looked like it was made of living crystal with geometric patterns that shifted and changed colors. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes mixed with electronic music. I am Counselor Vexoni, the crystal being announced, and I represent the Economic Council of the Galactic Federation. Your unauthorized activities have disrupted established trade routes and violated economic treaties that have existed for thousands of years. Dr. Morrison's assistant asked him if they should call the military or evacuate the building. Jake shook his head and told her to keep recording. He said this was the most interesting thing to happen since they discovered life on Titan. His assistant looked at him like he was crazy, but she kept the camera running. The Galactic Council, the first alien continued, hereby demands the immediate cessation of all interstellar activities. You will evacuate all unauthorized colonies within 1 standard galactic year. You will dismantle all faster-than-light ships and return to your home planet. Ambassador Carter finished her coffee and walked back into the building. She found her staff gathered around television screens, all watching the alien broadcast. Some looked frightened, others seemed excited. Carter told everyone to stay calm and continue with their regular duties. She said they would wait for more information before making any decisions. Your species will submit to a full technological assessment, the crystal alien added, and accept permanent observers from the Council to ensure compliance with galactic law. Any attempt to resist these demands will be considered an act of war against the entire Galactic Federation. President Brooks called her cabinet members and asked them to meet in the Situation Room in 1 hour. She told them to bring coffee and donuts because it might be a long discussion. Her secretary asked if she should declare a state of emergency. The president said no and asked if anyone wanted lunch delivered during the meeting. The two aliens stood side by side in the hologram, looking down at the city like stern parents talking to misbehaving children. Their images were so clear that people could see every detail of their strange features. Some children pointed and asked their parents if the aliens were friendly. Most parents said they didn't know but told their kids not to worry. "This is not a negotiation," both aliens said at the same time, their voices mixing together in an odd harmony. "This is a final warning. Comply with our demands or face the consequences. The Galactic Council has spoken." The hologram began to fade, becoming transparent like smoke. Within a few minutes, it was completely gone, leaving only empty blue sky above New Geneva. People looked around at each other, unsure what to do next. Some went back to their daily routines, while others stood in groups talking about what they had just seen. Agent Davis approached President Brooks and asked if she wanted to address the nation immediately. The president looked out her window at the people walking normally on the streets below. She said she would make a statement after lunch and asked if anyone knew where to get good sandwiches. DLIVERED Dr. Morrison uploaded his videos to the scientific database and sent copies to researchers around the world. He labeled the files as First Contact Documentation and went back to his lab to continue his work on the Europa samples. His assistant asked if he thought the aliens were dangerous. Jake said he thought they were probably just bureaucrats with bigger offices. Ambassador Carter called the heads of all Earth's colonies to let them know about the alien ultimatum. She told them to continue normal operations and wait for official instructions. Most of the colony administrators said they were too busy with important projects to worry about alien politics right now. As the day continued, news reports spread across Earth and to all the human colonies. The aliens' demand became the biggest story in human history, but somehow life continued much the same as always. People went to work, children attended school, and the colonies kept building and expanding just like they had been doing for decades. 3 days had passed since the alien ultimatum, and Captain Alex Turner was having the best mining week of his career. His ship, the New Horizon, floated peacefully in the asteroid belt of the Kepler 442 system, its massive drilling arms pulling tons of rare metals from space rocks that had been waiting millions of years to be useful. "Captain," his communications officer Beth Young called from her station, "we're getting another message from those council ships." Alex didn't look up from his mining reports. The numbers were beautiful. His crew had extracted enough platinum in 3 days to fund a small city back on Earth. Chief Engineer Nina Walsh had optimized their drilling systems so well that they were ahead of schedule and under budget. "What do they want this time?" Alex asked while reviewing the next asteroid on their list. Beth listened to her headset and tried not to laugh. "They're demanding we cease all mining operations immediately and return to Earth for processing." "Tell them we're busy," Alex said, finally looking up from his tablet. "Mining doesn't stop for paperwork." Navigation Officer Ryan Kelly plotted their course to the next asteroid cluster. He had been working in space for 15 years and had seen plenty of strange things, but aliens complaining about humans working too hard was definitely a new one. He marked 3 more promising asteroids on his screen and sent the coordinates to the drilling team. Nina Walsh was in the engine room making sure their fusion reactors were running perfectly. The aliens had been following their ship for 3 days now, keeping a respectful distance but always watching. She found it amusing that advanced galactic civilizations apparently had nothing better to do than watch humans work. "Beth, Alex called out, send them our standard mining permit documentation and ask if they need anything else." Beth typed the message and sent it to the alien ships. Within minutes, she received a reply that made her cover her mouth to hide her smile. "Captain, they say our permits are invalid because we didn't file them with the Galactic Council." Alex shrugged and went back to his reports. Tell them to take it up with the Earth Mining Commission. We have quotas to meet. Meanwhile, on Mars, Colony Director Steve Parker was having similar conversations with increasingly frustrated aliens. The Red Planet's terraforming operations continued at full speed, with atmospheric processors working around the clock to make the air breathable. For future generations, Steve stood in his office looking out at the vast construction projects that covered the Martian landscape. Massive machines moved across the desert, building cities and installing environmental systems. It was the largest engineering project in human history, and some aliens with fancy titles wanted him to stop because of permit problems. Sir, his Deputy Administrator Kate Russell approached with a tablet full of messages. The Galactic Council has sent us 14 separate cease and desist orders regarding our terraforming activities. Steve glanced at the screen, selected all the messages, and deleted them with one finger. Kate, we've been transforming this planet for 30 years. I'm not stopping because some bug-eyed bureaucrats finally noticed we exist. Chief Technician. Amy Foster was monitoring the atmospheric processes from the main control room. The machines were working perfectly, slowly changing the thin Martian air into something humans could breathe. Each day brought them closer to their goal of making Mars a true second home for humanity. Environmental specialist Chris Hamilton sent his daily report to Earth showing their progress. The oxygen levels were increasing steadily, the temperature. Control systems were stable, and the soil treatment programs were ahead of schedule. He had no intention of stopping this work because aliens didn't understand human determination. Back on Earth, President Brooks finally called her cabinet meeting to discuss the alien situation. Defense Secretary Paul Anderson, Secretary of State, Jennifer Clark, and Admiral Lisa Hayes gathered in the Situation Room with coffee and sandwiches as requested. So, President Brooks began while opening her lunch, aliens want us to stop expanding and come home to Earth. Admiral Hayes pulled up a holographic display showing the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of alien ships, now numbering. Over 200 vessels arranged in a loose formation around the outer planets. Madam President, Admiral Hayes reported, our deep space monitoring stations show they're maintaining a perimeter, but not approaching our colonies or interfering with our ships. Are they threatening anyone? President Brooks asked between bites of her sandwich. No, ma'am. They seem to be waiting for us to comply with their demands. Defense Secretary Anderson consulted his tablet and provided a status report. All our orbital defense platforms are operational. The Luna Defense Array is at full capacity and our fleet is ready for deployment if needed. Secretary of State Clark had been monitoring communications from all the human colonies. Our settlements report normal operations continuing. Some colony administrators are actually enjoying the attention from the alien observers. President. Brooks nodded thoughtfully and finished her sandwich. Paul, what's our military assessment of their capabilities? Unknown but probably significant, Anderson replied honestly. However, they haven't made any aggressive moves. They appear to be a bureaucratic organization rather than a military force. Good, Brooks said simply. Let them wait. We have work to do. The president's response became the official Earth policy within hours. All human colonies received the same message. Continue normal operations and ignore the alien demands unless directly threatened. On Europa, mining operations continued under the ice while alien ships circled the moon like confused tourists. Mining. Supervisor Don Cooper reported record production rates to Colonel Matt Stone, who was more interested in efficiency reports than alien ultimatums. Colonel, Lieutenant Sarah Ward called from her monitoring station, the alien fleet has grown to over 500 ships. They're requesting permission to establish a communication relay. Colonel Stone was reviewing Dan's mining reports and found them extremely satisfying. Did they file the proper permits with the Outer Colonies Administration? Lieutenant Ward blinked in confusion. Sir, they're threatening to invade us. Then they definitely need permits, Stone replied without looking up. Send them the application forms. On New California, Governor Eric Mills was inspecting the wheat harvest with his agricultural team. The farming colony produced food for Dozen of worlds, and the harvest season was critical for feeding millions of people. Alien politics could wait until after the crops were safely stored. Agricultural Minister Julie Adams approached with news that the alien ships were jamming communications. With Earth, Governor Mills was more concerned with the grain quality reports from Farm Coordinator Lisa Brown. Are they interfering with the harvest schedule? Mills asked while examining a sample of wheat. No, sir, just our communications. Then it's not our problem. The harvest won't wait for politics. The most memorable incident happened near Proxima Centauri, where Captain Greg Taylor commanded the research vessel Discovery. His ship was conducting stellar surveys when a massive alien warship approached and requested permission to board. Galactic Council Enforcement Commander Thylik materialized in the Discovery's airlock with 7 armed escorts. The alien stood 7 feet tall with reptilian features and military decorations covering his uniform. By order of the Galactic Council, Commander Thylik announced through his translator device, "This vessel is in violation of expansion protocols." Captain Taylor, a former merchant marine who had dealt with difficult customers before, looked at the alien delegation with genuine confusion. "Do you have a warrant? We are the supreme authority in this galaxy." "That's nice," Taylor replied politely, "but this is a human ship in human space. Where's your warrant?" The aliens spent 3 hours trying to explain their legal authority, while Taylor's crew continued their work. Science Officer Karen Phillips kept taking stellar measurements, and Chief Medical Officer Tony Martinez offered the aliens coffee and asked if they needed to use the restroom. 6 months had passed since the alien ultimatum, and humanity's response could best be described as aggressive indifference. The Galactic Council had expected fear, negotiation, or at least acknowledgement of their authority. Instead, they got paperwork requests and offers for coffee. Colonel Matt Stone commanded the newest Earth Defense Force installation on Europa, a massive facility built into the moon's ice crust. His primary job was overseeing the mining operations that extracted water and rare minerals from beneath the frozen surface. The alien ships that now permanently orbited Europa were treated as part of the scenery. Colonel, Lieutenant Sarah Ward, called from her monitoring station while reviewing the daily production reports, "The Galactic Council fleet has increased to over 800 ships. They're requesting permission to establish a communication relay on our moon." Colonel Stone was more interested in the efficiency reports from mining supervisor Dan Cooper. The numbers showed they were exceeding their monthly quotas by 30%, which meant bonuses for the entire crew and improved living conditions for the growing colony. Did they submit the proper environmental impact assessment? Stone asked while signing off on equipment requisitions. Lieutenant Ward stared at her screen in disbelief. "Sir, they have enough ships to destroy this entire moon." "Then they should definitely file an environmental impact assessment," Stone replied calmly. "We can't have that many ships affecting our orbital mechanics without proper documentation." The situation had become equally surreal throughout human space. On New California, a thriving agricultural world that fed dozens of colonies, Governor Eric Mills continued expanding farming operations while Galactic Council observers established what they called a monitoring blockade around the planet. The blockade consisted of 50 massive alien warships arranged in a perfect sphere around New California. Each ship was the size of a small city and bristled with weapons that could level mountains. The aliens used these ships to scan every human vessel that approached the planet, demanding identification and flight plans. Governor, Agricultural, Minister Julie Adams reported during their weekly harvest meeting. "The alien ships are now scanning all our grain shipments and requesting cargo manifests." Governor Mills was reviewing crop rotation schedules with Farm Coordinator Lisa Brown. The wheat harvest had been exceptional this year, and they were already planning next season's planting cycles. Alien bureaucracy was not going to interfere with feeding humanity. "Are they delaying any shipments?" Mills asked while examining soil composition reports. "No, sir, they just want copies of all our documentation." "Fine, send them the manifests. Maybe they'll learn something about efficient agriculture." The most telling incident occurred when Galactic Council Enforcement Commander Thylik made his second attempt to assert authority over human activities. This time, he chose to board the civilian transport ship Destiny near the Alpha Centauri system. Captain Greg Taylor had been transporting families to new colonies when the massive alien warship intercepted his vessel. The Destiny was a peaceful ship with no weapons, carrying 200 settlers, including children and elderly colonists seeking new homes among the stars. Commander Thylik materialized in the ship's cargo bay with a full squad of armed soldiers. The reptilian commander's scales were darker now, showing signs of stress that his species displayed when frustrated. His military decorations seemed heavier, as if the weight of bureaucratic failure was pulling him down. "Human Captain," Thylik announced through his translator, "by direct order of the High Council, you will redirect this vessel to your home system immediately." Captain Taylor was helping elderly passenger Martha Collins find her medication when the aliens appeared. He looked at the 7-foot-tall reptilian commander with the same expression he used when dealing with delayed cargo deliveries. "I'm sorry, but we're scheduled to arrive at New Geneva Colony tomorrow," Taylor replied politely. "These folks have jobs waiting and housing assignments. I can't just change the schedule without proper authorization." Commander Thylik's scales darkened. "Further, I am giving you proper authorization." "From who?" Taylor asked genuinely. "Do you have documentation from the Colonial Transport Authority? These people have legal contracts and immigration paperwork." The alien delegation spent 4 hours trying to explain galactic hierarchy while the human passengers treated them like interesting museum exhibits. Children asked if they could touch the alien scales, and elderly passengers offered them homemade cookies and family photos. Science officer Karen Phillips, who had transferred to the Destiny after her research mission ended, documented the entire encounter for the Colonial Xenobiology Department. She took detailed notes on alien frustration behaviors, while Chief Medical Officer Tony Martinez offered free health checkups to any aliens who were interested. Meanwhile, back on Mars, the terraforming project had reached a major milestone. The atmospheric processors had successfully increased oxygen levels to 15%, making it possible for humans to work outside with minimal breathing assistance. Colony Director Steve Parker celebrated by approving construction of 3 new cities. "Sir," Deputy Administrator Kate Russell approached with another stack of alien demands. "The Galactic Council has now sent over 100 formal complaints about our atmospheric modifications." Steve was reviewing architectural plans for the new settlements with Chief Engineer Robert Kim and Urban Planner Nancy Foster. The cities would house 1 million new colonists and feature the latest environmental control systems. "Kate," Steve said, while approving the construction timeline, "file their complaints with the Terraforming Regulatory Commission. If they want to stop us from building cities, they need to go through proper channels." Kate looked at the pile of alien ultimatums and threats of military action. "Sir, they're not going through our channels. They're making demands based on their own authority." "Then they're filling out the wrong forms." Steve replied simply. The breaking point came when the Galactic Council attempted to establish what they called a compliance monitoring station in Earth's solar system. A massive space station larger than any human structure appeared near Neptune and began broadcasting demands for immediate surrender. Admiral Lisa Hayes received the report while reviewing fleet deployment schedules with her staff. The alien station was indeed impressive, probably capable of housing millions of beings and equipped with weapons that dwarfed anything in the human arsenal. "Admiral," Communications Director Frank Wilson reported, "the alien station is demanding that all human ships report to them for inspection and registration." Admiral Hayes was more concerned with the logistics report from Supply Officer Rachel Green, which showed that their deep space monitoring stations needed routine maintenance. "Are they interfering with our shipping lanes?" "No, ma'am. They're just making demands." "Then treat them like any other station requesting harbor services. Send them our standard docking fees and customs procedures." The alien response to receiving a bill for customs processing became legendary in human space. The Galactic Council's monitoring station spent 3 days trying to explain why they shouldn't have to pay docking fees, while human customs agents treated them exactly like any other foreign vessel requesting services. Customs Officer Bill Rogers processed their paperwork with the same efficiency he used for cargo ships from the outer colonies. When the aliens claimed exemption from fees due to their supreme authority, Rogers politely explained that everyone paid the same rates regardless of their political status. "Look," Rogers told the frustrated alien customs delegation, "I don't care if you're the emperor of the galaxy. If you want to operate a station in our solar system, you follow our regulations and pay our fees. It's that simple." The aliens eventually paid the customs fees, established their monitoring station according to human safety regulations, and began the tedious process of learning how human bureaucracy actually worked. Galactic Counselor Zefter had ruled over 17 star systems for 300 years, commanded fleets that could destroy entire civilizations, and negotiated treaties that kept peace across thousands of worlds. But he had never encountered anything like humanity, and his compound eyes were beginning to twitch with frustration. The emergency council session convened in the Great Chamber aboard the flagship Eternal Dominion, a vessel so massive that it housed entire cities within its hull. Representatives from dozens of species filled the holographic meeting space, their various forms of communication creating a symphony of clicks, chirps, electronic tones, and telepathic humming. "These humans," announced Counselor Vexoni, her crystalline form shimmering with what her species displayed as intense irritation, "appear to be completely immune to diplomatic pressure. Our blockades have had no effect whatsoever on their activities." Military Commander Kreektar, a reptilian being whose scarred hide told stories of countless battles, slammed his clawed fist against the council table with enough force to crack the reinforced surface. "They ignore our fleets completely. When we established orbital blockades around their colonies, they simply built more ships and worked around us like we were asteroids." The reports from human space were indeed baffling to beings accustomed to immediate submission from lesser species. On Kepler 438b, human colonists led by Administrator Jack Roberts had actually turned the alien blockade into a tourist attraction. The Visit an Alien Fleet program had become wildly popular among human families. Chief Engineer Maria Santos had converted 3 cargo ships into tour vessels that took curious humans on sightseeing trips around the massive alien warships. The tours included educational presentations about alien technology, souvenir shops selling replica alien artifacts, and guided viewing sessions where families could wave at confused alien crews through their observation windows. "Most disturbing," continued Counselor Zefter while reviewing reports that made no logical sense, "is their complete lack of fear. When we deployed the Dreadnought fleet to their home system, their response was to ask if we needed refueling services. This was unfortunately true. Admiral Rebecca Torres of the Earth Defense Force had established a new diplomatic protocol that treated all Galactic Council vessels as potential customers rather than threats. The Solar Refueling Consortium, managed by Fuel Depot Supervisor Tim Hughes, had processed over 3,000 service requests from alien ships whose crews were simply curious about human efficiency, supply. Officer Rachel Green had prepared standardized welcome packages for visiting alien crews, including maps of local attractions, restaurant recommendations, and discount coupons for human entertainment venues. Several alien junior officers had become regular customers at coffee shops near the refueling stations. "Their commercial instincts are absolutely unprecedented," reported economic analyst Morthic, a being whose entire species specialized in understanding trade patterns and economic behavior. "They have somehow turned our military blockade into a profitable business opportunity." The statistics were embarrassing for the Galactic Council. Human merchants had established trading posts near every alien blockade, selling coffee, chocolate, entertainment media, and what humans called Earth souvenirs to curious alien crews. The blockades had actually increased human profits by providing a steady customer base of bored soldiers with nothing to do. Several alien Junior officers had submitted formal requests for extended assignments in human space, citing better food, more interesting work conditions, and what one report described as superior recreational opportunities. The humans had responded by offering employment applications and immigration paperwork. The situation has become completely absurd, reported cultural observer Lyrana, whose species was renowned for their ability to understand and predict the behavior of other civilizations. I have spent 6 months studying human responses to our ultimatums, and I believe they genuinely view us as an interesting but ultimately irrelevant tourist attraction. Her detailed report included recordings of human media coverage of the alien presence. News broadcasts treated the Galactic Council fleets like weather reports, with casual mentions of alien ship movements between sports scores and stock market updates. Human children drew pictures of alien vessels in their art classes, and several universities had established galactic studies programs to research their visitors. Most disturbing to the Council was a recorded interview with President Helen Brooks, who had been asked about the alien ultimatum during a routine press conference. Her response had become viral across human social networks and was now being studied by xenobiologists throughout the galaxy. If they want to hang around our solar system, that's their choice, President Brooks had said while reviewing agricultural reports during the interview. We've got planets to build and people to feed. They're welcome to watch if they find it interesting. When pressed by reporters about the potential threat to human civilization, Brooks had simply shrugged and said, "They haven't actually done anything threatening. They just seem to like following our ships around and asking for paperwork. It's like having very large, very persistent accountants." The president's casual dismissal of the greatest military force in galactic history had been translated into 17,000 languages and was now required viewing at the Galactic Military Academy as an example of unprecedented diplomatic responses. Commander Thalik, who had personally attempted to board human vessels multiple times, submitted a report that his superiors initially refused to believe. According to his observations, humans treated Galactic Council authority figures exactly the same way they treated their own bureaucrats, with polite patience and requests for proper documentation. They are not defying our authority, Thalik explained to the increasingly frustrated council members. They simply do not recognize our authority as relevant to their daily activities. When I demand compliance with galactic law, they ask to see my permit to operate in their space. The most embarrassing incident had occurred when Enforcement Team Alpha attempted to shut down human mining operations in the Vega system. The human miners, led by Foreman Pete Wilson and Safety Coordinator Linda Martinez, had treated the alien boarding party like visiting safety inspectors. The humans had given the aliens hard hats, safety briefings, and guided tours of their mining equipment. When the aliens demanded they stop working, the humans had politely explained their production schedules and asked if the aliens wanted to file a formal complaint with the mining union. Foreman Wilson had even offered jobs to several alien soldiers, explaining that they had openings for equipment operators and that the pay was excellent. 2 young alien warriors had actually filled out employment applications before their commander dragged them away. The humans have somehow weaponized politeness, reported psychology specialist Cathara, whose analysis of human behavior had taken 6 months to complete. They respond to every threat, demand, and ultimatum with administrative procedures that treat us as just another bureaucratic entity. The Council's attempts to establish their supreme authority had been systematically reduced to filling out forms, paying fees, and following local regulations. Human customs officials processed alien demands with the same efficiency they used for shipping manifests, while human lawyers politely explained why. Galactic Council orders had no legal standing in human courts. The final blow to Council prestige came when Human Resources Director Susan Clark sent a formal job offer to Counselor Zefter himself, explaining that Earth's colonial administration was hiring experienced administrators and that his qualifications looked impressive. The offer included health benefits, vacation time, and what humans called a competitive salary package. The Great Galactic Council, supreme authority over 70,000 worlds, had somehow been transformed into a potential employment opportunity. 1 year had passed since the original ultimatum, and President Helen Brooks finally decided it was time to have a proper conversation with the Galactic Council. Not because she was concerned about their threats, but because her trade advisors had prepared some interesting proposals that might benefit both species. The diplomatic mission launched from Earth aboard the Starship Enterprise, a vessel specifically designed for first contact situations. Captain Susan Taylor commanded the ship with her usual calm efficiency, while the diplomatic team included Ambassador Richard Stone, Trade Representative Angela Miller, and a full support staff trained in interspecies communication. President Brooks brought along her personal security detail led by Agent Mark Johnson, though she had made it clear this was a business meeting rather than a surrender. Her Chief of Staff Kevin Adams carried briefcases full of trade proposals, economic analyses, and what he called practical solutions to bureaucratic problems. The meeting took place aboard the Galactic Council's flagship, a massive vessel that stretched for miles and contained entire cities within its hull. The ship was impressive by any standard, filled with technology that humanity was still decades away from understanding. But President Brooks walked through its corridors with the same confidence she used when visiting other government buildings. The council chamber was designed to intimidate visitors, with soaring ceilings that disappeared into darkness and holographic displays showing the vast extent of Galactic Council territory. Representatives from dozens of species surrounded a central platform where Counselor Zephyr waited with what was clearly intended to be an imposing presence. Human leader, Zephyr began with the voice he reserved for addressing primitive species, your people have flagrantly ignored our lawful demands for an entire standard year. We control 70,000 worlds across this galaxy, command fleets that span star systems, and maintain order among billions of civilizations. President Brooks consulted her tablet, which contained notes prepared by Economic Research Director Janet Price and Statistical Analysis Chief Brandon White. The numbers were quite impressive from a human perspective, though she was more interested in the trade potential than the military statistics. That sounds like a substantial organization, Brooks replied with genuine interest. We currently operate colonies on 23 worlds, and our expansion rate suggests we'll reach 50 worlds within the next decade. There might be opportunities for mutually beneficial cooperation. The council chamber erupted in the various sounds that different alien species made when confused or frustrated. Electronic warbles mixed with organic chittering and telepathic static as representatives tried to process this unexpected response. You were ordered to evacuate your unauthorized colonies and return to your homeworld. Zephyr continued, his compound eyes darkening with what his species displayed as severe irritation. We received your suggestion to evacuate our colonies, Brooks corrected politely. After careful consideration by our colonial administration, managed by Director Lavra White and her excellent staff, we decided to respectfully decline. The translation systems throughout the chamber began producing what could only be described as electronic confusion. The concept of declining a Galactic Council order was apparently difficult to render in most alien languages. Furthermore, President Brooks continued while referencing reports prepared by Immigration Director Roy Clark, our Department of Immigration has processed over 15,000 applications from citizens of Council worlds, requesting residency in human space. The approval rate has been quite high, since most applicants demonstrate valuable skills and work ethics. This statement was met with absolute silence. Several alien representatives began frantically consulting their own databases to verify what sounded like impossible information. Counselor Vexoni, her crystalline form shifting through colors that indicated deep confusion, spoke with the electronic chiming that her species used for formal communications. You claim that our citizens are requesting to live in your primitive territories. Not just requesting, Brooks replied cheerfully. Many of your junior military officers have submitted employment applications to work in our commercial fleet operations. Our Human Resources Department, supervised by Carol Davis and recruitment specialist Scott Reed, has been quite impressed with their qualifications. Military Commander Kriktar S. scales began changing colors and patterns that his species used to indicate extreme emotional distress. Our soldiers are requesting to work for humans. Your former soldiers, President Brooks corrected. Several dozen have already completed their immigration paperwork and started new careers in asteroid mining, agricultural development, and interstellar transport operations. We have excellent job training programs. Fleet Commander Thalake, who had spent months attempting to assert council authority over human activities, stood up from his position at the War Council table. His reptilian features showed the kind of exhaustion that came from bureaucratic defeat. Madam President, Thalake said with what his translator rendered as resigned professionalism, "What exactly do your people want from this galaxy?" Brooks smiled and opened her briefcase, revealing documents prepared by dozens of Earth's best economic minds. Trade Analysis Director Janet Price had worked with Market Research Chief Brian Foster to create proposals that could revolutionize galactic commerce. "We want to build things, grow things, and trade things," Brooks explained simply. "Our economists have analyzed your galactic trade networks and identified numerous opportunities for efficiency improvements. We can offer coffee, chocolate, entertainment media, advanced agricultural techniques, and something our xenobiologists call practical problem-solving approaches." She handed Thalake a preliminary trade proposal that had been prepared by Commodity Exchange Director Carol Davis. The document outlined potential exports from human space, including food products, entertainment content, and consulting services for what humans called bureaucratic optimization. "Your council appears to spend enormous resources on military enforcement and administrative oversight," Brooks continued. "We could provide alternative approaches that achieve the same goals with significantly less expense and much higher satisfaction rates among your member species." The president stood and addressed the entire council with the same tone she used for cabinet meetings. "Here's what we propose. You can continue patrolling our space if you follow standard traffic safety regulations. And don't interfere with commercial shipping. We'll continue expanding as our population and economic needs require. And if you want to establish formal diplomatic relations, we'll be happy to discuss comprehensive trade agreements." She paused to consult notes prepared by Cultural Exchange Specialist Lisa Martinez and Diplomatic Protocol Chief Robert Kim. "Our preliminary analysis suggests that your current governmental system creates unnecessary friction between member species. We could offer consulting services to help streamline your administrative processes." The final statement that would become legendary in both human and galactic history was delivered with the same casual confidence that Brooks used when discussing municipal budgets. "The way we see it, you have two basic options. You can keep floating around our space making demands that we're going to politely ignore anyway, or you can come inside and try our pizza." The silence that followed lasted nearly 5 minutes as alien translation systems struggled to process the concept of pizza in a diplomatic context. 3 months later, the Galactic Council opened its first official embassy on Earth, located in downtown New Geneva next to Tony Ritchie's Pizza Palace. The embassy's new cultural exchange director, formerly Commander Thalake, had become a regular customer and was frequently seen having lunch meetings with human officials. While developing the galaxy's most successful interspecies trade program, humanity had accomplished what no other species in galactic history had managed. They had turned a military ultimatum into a job fair, convinced their would-be conquerors to become business partners, and somehow made bureaucracy both efficient and profitable for everyone involved.